Hello, hello, hello. How are you, Tom? Welcome.
Doing well, Dharam. Thank you.
Yeah,
Good to
welcome
talk
all
with
of
you
you.
again.
Yeah. This is your second webinar. You did webinar last year, I think, sometime last year.
Something like that.
Yeah. So that was a great popular, and so based on the popularity, I thought, why not you come back again?
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it the last time, and happy to do this again today. It's all good and helpful learning for all of us, right?
Great. Yeah. I'm sure you also learned from this whole process, and we
I do. I do. Yes.
great. Hey, I just want to share with everyone today. I came back from PMI Global Summit in LA this last week. It was a fantastic event, 4 days. I really enjoyed. And the reason I'm talking about that event because as a PgMP PfMP, I was seen very favorably, and I got some badges. You can see that PgMP PfMP,
Trinkets
and
are always good.
yeah, and I got this jacket as well, being a PgMP. So they were giving very nice jacket in this event to all the PgMPs, PfMPs, and I was just saying, can I have two of them? He said, no, you can get one. Can I have 517 for my PgMP student and 147 for my PfMP students? Said that's too much.
You have done an incredible job, Dharam, in training and mentoring all of us through the process. And I know on behalf of the others online, I know we really appreciate your time and dedication to us and to the field. Uh, it, I found you late, and it has made a huge difference in everything I do. So I truly appreciate it, and I think all the others online do as well.
Thank you very much. So, yep, it's not about me. Let's talk about you. So, Tom, coming with lots of experience. I don't want to say how many years, probably 35 years experience. Is that correct? Maybe.
For for what? For how long I've had the PGMP and PFMP?
No. How long you have been into your experience as
Oh,
a
it's 30 some years between 23-ish in the Air Force, and then another 13 or so in the commercial contractor industrial side. So
fantastic,
it's it's been a lot.
yeah. That's an indication that you have gone through number of high stress environment and
Lots of scars.
yeah, lots of stars. When you go through this dangerous, stressful moment, and if we come out alive, you're doing good.
You you learn from every experience, whether whether you learn what you did right, you learn what you did wrong. Same for others, but it's always a learning experience, no doubt.
Exactly. So based on and I think when we are going through the learning process, you did mention that your team grown from 200 people to 800 people in less than a year. That's a lot.
Right. So, I'm here in my personal capacity, not representing company I'm with or anything. So everything I say is you can blame me. Credit goes to everybody who taught me. Uh, but yeah, the company I'm with, when I first joined, they were a startup, lots of different things, and across the entire enterprise, the corporation we now have somewhere around 700 to 800 people. I am one of the program project portfolio management leads for the team, and we're working across the enterprise to try and move project and program management forward in lots of ways. And some of that is really easy, and some of it takes a lot of hard work and effort and tired and frustrated at the end of the day, and you come back and you do it again the next. So it's all good.
Yeah. And as I said, you learn a lot from this. You may feel that you are, never ending in a dark tunnel, but when you come out, you look back. That was something, incredible experience if you manage that chaotic environment, and then you can manage anything.
Yeah. The more you do, the more you learn, the easier it gets.
Exactly.
And the situations that you don't expect and you've never encountered before. Over the years, there have been plenty of those, but each one prepares you for the next challenge, no doubt.
Exactly. Yeah. So also want to remind that you completed your PgMP on 9th February 2023, and almost just more than a year. You completed your PfMP on 5th June 2024. So
Yep.
good
And
job.
the PMP was before Dharam by a couple of years as well, about a year and a half prior to all that. So 2021 or something. So it's been about 3 years.
On certificate at least.
I've got 3. My wife said I can't do any more.
Yeah. No, I will show you this. I got, along with my PgMP PfMP, I was collecting all these batches because the SP, PfMP, and all those. And when people were seeing my this name tag, say, what is left now? Anyway, so look, so you look your experience as PgMP PfMP, and now you managing big team. Anything before you move out from you and then I start asking question. Anything you'd like to talk about your PgMP experience, PfMP experiences?
No, I found the process working with you extremely helpful. Years of management experience prior to trying to get the actual certification, and self-centered. It's like, oh, I can do this. And no, you need someone to help get you through. A lot of it is understanding the PMI mindset, the PMI perspective on things. And when you take the test, you need to have that deeper understanding. And I tried a couple of different ways on PgMP to do that. Dharam, you were obviously the winning factor in that. And so when it came time to do the portfolio management, it was like there's only one answer. Yeah. And I know I took longer than you wanted me to, but I did took some time between when we talked and went through things, and it was probably 3 to 6 months, somewhere in there, I think, from the time you and I finished the sessions before I took the test. Some of that was just trying to find a schedule. I wanted a good 3-ish months to work through some of the practice material on my own and go through and what am I getting right, what am I getting wrong, why, understanding what was happening. And then, oh, well, there are no test dates next month or 2 months out. And it's like, okay. And so that process, when I was ready to take the test wasn't ready for me. So it took a little bit longer in that. So word to the wise for the rest of you out there is, take the test when you're ready, but don't wait too long, because the longer you take, the less you're going to retain, and the harder it's going to be to work through things. So you need to find what the right time frame is for you to work with Dharam or whomever in learning the material and getting ready, and then getting that test scheduled. And it's you probably want to schedule a month or 2 out. Just that was my experience, is trying to find a viable date. It was 1 to 2 months out before I was able to schedule anything. So I probably should have tried scheduling sooner, but I couldn't find anything. And so anyway, made it work.
Yeah, no. One lesson learned is don't leave your booking for late, because some centers can be too busy, and you may have to wait for months before you get a place. If once your panel review is complete for any certificate like PgMP, PfMP, or any exam, check the center. They provide a link. You might provide a link. You click and find out which is the nearest center or whichever center you can go to, and check the availability. If they have plenty of availability, that's fine. But if you see that no availability is not available for next 30 days or maybe 1, 2 months, 3 months, then you start blocking. You block a date. One is you have a target date to go for, and second is you at least you can be sure that at least you are not going, you don't have to wait for long.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And my testing center had, when I went in for PgMP, they're like, oh, you're taking PMP. No, I'm taking PgMP. And well, it's a PMI test. Yes. Okay. And so they gave me all the instructions, and it was for the PMP test, and you get to take scheduled breaks. And I'm like, after the second or third time of them telling me that, I just said thank you, and I just went on my way. So some test centers may not be as familiar with the non-PMP exams.
Yeah.
So make sure you know and understand the rules for taking the test. As you go in, every testing center will be a little bit different, but you can't take anything in and all that kind of stuff. But the real key is when it comes to actually taking the test specific rules, you may be more familiar than the testing center, and that's okay. You're the one who really needs to know it, not them.
And Tom, this is a very important point. Actually, that has impacted one of my students' exam. She wanted to take a break during the exam, and she was told that you will have a set break. In PMP you have you get 2 breaks after 60 questions. And she's trying to explain, no, this is not a PMP. This does not have a set break. And this lady was not ready to listen, and that impacted her. How you have to go to the washroom or something, but you cannot, then it's impacted. So that was anyway. So that's but what you rightly said. What they're saying, you should know what you're getting into. Don't just trust what they're telling you, because they may not know about other exams. Yeah.
Yeah, the PMP is extremely common. I think most testing centers are very familiar with that. There's probably a couple of others that they're familiar with, but the more discrete ones, you may be the person who knows more about the testing rules than the people who are moderating it. So know and understand, be ready.
All right. So Tom, we have talked a lot about the PgMP PfMP. Let's talk about the questions we have. And before I start, let me tell my friends there watching us. I have shared a couple of videos and also shared the YouTube link where you can find Tom's previous video and more than 200 videos from the webinars, and more than 150 videos at the podcast. Lot to learn. And I've also shared a coupon code just in case you wanted to enroll to my programs, and you may be able to save $100 or so. So take a note of that. You never know. You are okay now. Why not save some money? So that's on site. And also I do have an approved PDU code. I will be sharing it later, and you can use the code, and you can earn 1 PDU from this session. So advantage of this program is you are learning from the expert, and you also get 1 PDU. Fantastic. I'm doing a good job.
Indeed.
So it's an interesting topic we have today about how do we managing high stress project, and many projects, many times we have delivery dates kind of yesterday, which is very, that makes more problem. And the problem happens because your sales team is so efficient. They go out and sell anything to anyone, and the pressure comes to you as a delivery team. Okay, I will let you to talk, but let me share my experience of working with HP back in 2010, and the cloud data center. Cloud data center was the new buzzword in those days, and the sales team has a good job by selling the cloud services to 4 very high-profile companies in Australia. The expected date is the transition will start happening from August of next year, and here we are, November of the 2010. In between, we have Christmas time. The first expectation, the first data center, which is, I don't know where the second data center going to be. With no resources, no equipments, literally, the first data center to be ready by, that was my constraint. The expectation was data center number one to be ready by March, a second data center by June, fully connected with fiber optics cable, with more than $30 million equipment in both data center. It was, of course, it finished on time with 5 days of delay. I still call it on time. And but in between, as a project manager, I have to run around and do things. But it's not my day today. It's Tom to talk about his own experience and how he handles his
Yeah.
projects in a stressful environment. Okay. So
All right.
Tom, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So I do have a few questions for you. Let me
Yep.
start with my first question. How do you recommend leaders learn to develop strategy?
Right. So many of us, right, in our day-to-day lives are worried about, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And a lot of leaders, as you come up through the ranks, I'm really good at doing my thing, and I've got this task to do, and it's going to take me, however long. And as you grow and develop as a leader, you typically will be given responsibility for longer and longer term projects. But we keep that mentality of what's right in front of me, what's the crisis, what's the problem that's happening today, this week. Um, and it's difficult for a lot of new leaders, especially, um, to think longer term. We get so caught up on, there's the four quadrant of urgent and important and not important and that. And we so often end up in the urgent, not important quadrant. The urgent stuff gets taken care of, but the strategic usually falls into the important, not urgent category. And that corner tends to lag and get forgotten. And all of a sudden, you lose track of what you're doing. If you go on a long road trip, in the United States, we drive for thousands of miles still in the country. State of Texas, I know, Dharam, where you are, you can drive for most of a day and still be in Texas, right? But when you're driving cross country, there are lots of roads to get to where you're going, and so frequently we get caught up on, this is the road I'm on, this is the road I have to take. I have to take, the next exit at 3 miles. No, you don't. There are other ways to get where you're going. And as long as you know what your strategy is of where you're trying to go, you can take multiple paths to get there. And so I think the big thing is just learning, as a leader, you go from, the next turn, the next turn, the next turn, next task, is start thinking through what are 3, 4 steps beyond? What's 3 weeks out? What's 2 weeks out? What's 4 months out? Thinking longer term as you go. Project managers, we get caught up in our schedules. We've got 1,000 line items in our schedule and trying to track all these tasks. That's great, but not all those tasks are equally important. Not all those tasks, they can be done a little bit differently, organized a little differently. Kind of take time and think through try to think a month out. What do we need to do? Once you get good at thinking, a month out, think 2 months out, 6 months, a year, and at some point you'll start thinking, where do we need to be, 2, 3 years from now?
Mhm.
And at that point, you truly have become a strategic leader in my mind. I've been in jobs where that was our only focus. What is the strategy? What are we trying to accomplish at that time, 15, 20 years from now? Well, that was 25 years ago.
Mm.
And, I look back at some of the things we were trying to do, and I look at what's happening today, and I'm like, we got this right, we got that right, and we completely missed this other thing. So the more strategic you get, the more things you're going to miss, but they're probably not the big ones. They're probably something that cropped up unexpectedly. And that's okay. That's, you know where you're going, you know what your strategy is. And the other thing I think is a lot of new leaders tend to focus and manage what they know. I did this job. I know how to do this. Let me show you how to do it. Or here, I'm going to do it for you. And that's why people are working and doing things, and that's why you're the manager and why you're the leader, is to help and guide them. But you also need to focus and learn the areas you don't know. Learn the things that you're not comfortable with. Learn
Yeah.
about what's happening to the left of you, what's happening to the right of you, what's happening in front of you. What is your boss or boss's boss thinking about? Because 5, 10 years from now, that could be you. And if you haven't spent the time in learning how to do that and how to think at that level, you will have more difficulties than you want when you reach that stage. And so I think, taking gradual steps to think longer term, learning areas peripheral to your immediate responsibility, and learning the things that you don't know. And that will position you as a leader for greater success as you move forward in your career.
Yeah, very nicely presented, talked about the importance of strategy, long-term thinking, not just short-term thinking, short-term wins versus long-term vision. Yeah, that's the difference between a leader. You just don't think what next. Of course, you have to think about that's an operational activity, but you need to think where we are heading to. What is my end goal? At 5 years time from now, I'll be the CEO of the company, and then you have a plan towards that.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Okay, what leadership technique can be used to develop low performing team members?
Right. So, kind of pivoting off of the leadership, and having a team working for you, we all have that one team member
Mm,
that it doesn't matter, and it could be multiple, but there's always one that's just not quite performing at the same level of everybody else. Um, and as a leader, you have to sit down and look at what are their problems and challenges. Are they having problems? Maybe they're dyslexic. They have a problem reading and writing. That's neither here nor there, but it happens. Maybe they're really, really good at using Excel and they're having to learn Google Sheets. So you got to look at where are the problems at, and a little bit try to understand what are the underlying causes, what are the underlying reasons. Everyone is different, and so even though they may be having the same problem, there may be different reasons and an underlying cause. If you're trying to get someone to use Primavera or Project, for scheduling, did they get the training? Because a lot of times we throw people at tasks, at jobs to do, and we
mm,
don't take the time to make sure that they really know, one, how to do it, but two, what they're being asked to do. What are the requirements? Did they get all of the material they needed to succeed? And after you've kind of, and this is a little bit of a thinking exercise. You can't just sit down and start spouting out solutions. You kind of, especially for the lower performing team members, you kind of need to pause and take a little bit of time and write all this down. Write it down, on a Post-it note, on a pad of scratch paper, whiteboard, whatever. And as you do that, you'll start seeing commonalities. You'll start seeing some themes, and it might be that there are some medical issues. There's something going on at home. They never got properly trained. All of those things could be part of the problem, but you'll start finding some of them are related. And so
Yeah.
you group those issues together because all those groups and all those problems need to be handled in a different manner. If someone has, if they're having medical issues, okay, in the U.S. you have, there are rules on how you handle and accommodate people with special needs, and they just got to ask for it. They have to ask for a special accommodation, and you, HR, and the individual work together to find a viable solution for whatever that is. And once you've done that, you've eliminated that as as one of the causes of a problem. Meanwhile, there may also be, they never got the training. They
Yeah.
don't know how to do the job. Okay, I'm signing you up for this class, or you need to go take this class, or you need to do extra study on your own. There's lots of rules and everything, and every job, every company, they're all different. But you tackle each of those problem groups as a group, and you bring the whole together, but you tackle the groups independently with the main goal of improving, helping the person improve across the board. And, if it's a group of, lower performers, okay, well, you just do that. It's just, what do you need to do for each individual? But then also, what are the commonalities across the group? Maybe, maybe nobody ever got training. Okay, we're all going to take, geospatial dimensions and training, or we're going to all take Microsoft Project Schedule training, because we all need to know it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's, low performance is not because the person doesn't want to, it's they don't know how, or they don't know what they should ask for. And you just got to work through and group those problems in a way that helps the individual, helps the team increase performance over a period of time. And you can't expect changes overnight, but it also, if it's going to take 2-3 years, maybe there's a better place for that person on the team or somewhere else. And then you just work and say, okay, you need a fresh start. We're going to give you a different skills, a different job, different tasks, so you can succeed there, because we know you're having challenges here, and the rest of the team needs to move on.
Exactly. And
That's always my last option, but it is always an option on the table.
yeah, look, I mean, not always you're lucky to have a good high performing team. So even you are given it, people or team which are not high performing, but that's the only resource you can get. Then you have to work with them, find out the strength, do the strength, weakness, opportunity, threat, like a SWOT analysis,
Mm-hmm.
and assign the role, task according to their strength, and let somebody, wherever his person's weakness, somebody else step into, so that you will not get stopped because, oh, I can only do this. I can be I'm a shy person. I can do writing good email. But what about speaking? Yeah, there's another person who's good in speaking. Let's plug them together.
Right. One of the things that I try to practice a lot is, if you're the only one who knows how to do a job, you're not doing your job. That
Exactly.
means that part of your job is to train someone else to replace you. And so getting that mentorship, showing someone how, not just, don't just give them the fish, teach them how to fish kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of value added, and it contributes to overall improvement of everyone on the team.
Exactly. And that's very, very important point. It's not about giving them fish. Teach them how to fish so that they're not dependent on you. Rather, they can catch and make you feel good as well. And give you fish.
Indeed.
Exactly. Good. Thank you, Thomas. Very, very valuable points. And I think every one of us should take some of the tips from you on that and try to grow our team. And I'm sure that that low performer today may not be staying low performer, and he can be one of the best performer in your team, because he has taken the steps and did the what. Yeah, and so with the help of a project program manager and the help of the organization, things can be turned around. Good job. What role does strategy play in driving organizational change?
I've been thinking about this one. I thought I had an answer. Um, thinking about it, there's always different cultures and different solutions that are available. There is no cookie cutter solution to driving organizational change.
Yeah,
Even if the same change is needed, just the nature of the culture is going to take, it's going to require a different perspective, a different approach. You may ultimately end up in the same place, back to that, cross-country road trip perspective. We're all going to New York, but we're all starting from different places. I'm in New Mexico, Dharam's in Texas, someone else is in Colorado. We're all going to get to New York at about the same time, but we're in different starting places. The path we're going to take, how long that journey is, it's all different. And so that cultural difference is big. I think you've got to really take that into perspective. You also have to, evaluate what the challenges are to get there. If we're driving to New York in winter, Durham doesn't have to worry about snow, but Colorado, guess what? A blizzard's coming through. That's going to be a challenge. Especially if we all leave at the same time, trying to meet at the same date, it's going to be difficult because you have different challenges. Durham is snow free, and Colorado's dealing with 2 feet of snow and can't get out of the driveway. And so knowing, understanding, evaluating those challenges is a part of that. And the biggest thing about organizational change, it's cultural. Organizational change is going to change the organization's culture. And that people like it the way it is. And we spend a lot of time talking about program, project, portfolio managers, being agents of change. And change is difficult. People resist it. They don't want to change. I like things the way they are. And the problem isn't that we need to change. The problem is just that I need more people. No, you could work smarter. No, I just need more people because I'm going to throw more people at this problem. I've seen this, so many times where we just need to work harder. It's like, no, we need to work smarter, and working smarter requires, doing things differently and getting people to know, understand, and appreciate the need for the change as part of that early on process, and sharing with them, so the linkage to strategy is they don't see why they need to change. They don't understand that in 3 years, the company went from 25 people to 800 people. That's a huge change. What worked for, 2 people building something in the garage doesn't work when you're trying to build a tunnel under Boston.
no,
Same skills, it's different. Takes more people, takes more coordination. So knowing and understanding, envisioning what that change needs to be, and then trying to, building support, sharing that vision, coming up with a strategy of how to get there. Maybe you can't do, this piece first. I'm going to do this piece instead because it's easier. People are willing to take that change. because it's not a big deal. Well, now you got a little bit of momentum. Okay, well, now we need to take a bigger piece. And so there are lots of different ways to drive that change. And strategy is what helps you figure out what are the things that need to be done first,
Yeah.
and the sequencing, because those things are important. If you try to do too much at once, you're going to fail, and therefore the whole idea was bad. But you got to build up small successes, and as you build those successes, people start going, oh, this wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Oh, I see why we need to make this change.
Yeah.
And you build support, but it does take time and it takes effort.
Great. Yep. So, okay, let me ask my next question. What recommendation do you have for leaders taking on new roles or working in new areas?
Right. So this goes back to what I talked to a little bit earlier as well, which is learning how to develop strategy. Typically, people get promoted to managers and management and leadership positions because of past performance. You know, when I was in the military, you know, part of the promotion order always read, based on your demonstrated ability to perform at the next higher level. Well, that's because of something you did, right? Sustained success over a period of time. And again, you know, we frequently, you know, as managers go back to, well, this is what I've done in the past. This is what I know. And this always worked for me before. That will carry you to a certain point, but there will come a point where you can't keep relying on what you did. You now need to perform in a different way, at a different level. And so the challenge, you know, that first management role, you're probably leadership position, you're probably managing an area that you've already been working in. You know, if you're an engineer, you're, you know, finance, you're probably going to be managing something in that same area. And it's easy to rely on what worked in the past, what you saw, you know, your previous boss do. You know, those are easy. But after a couple of promotions, you're going to be managing stuff that you've never done before. You're going to be overseeing people who have completely different perspectives, who have completely different experiences in vastly different areas. And so you can't use what you did before, because the new field, that new area, is not going to feel the love. And that's both good and bad. You know, feel the love. We have a tendency, you know, like I said, to manage what we know. That also means sometimes we tend to micromanage what we know. Oh, you didn't put, you didn't use the right screw. You totally should have used this screw. It doesn't matter if I used a 1/4" screw or a number 10 screw. It's a screw. I just need to attach two things together. It's not a big deal, right? There's lots of reasons for picking one over the other, but in the end, does it really matter? Meanwhile, you know, we bought 5,000 screws and we only needed 10. And your real problem is on the supply chain side, but you don't know supply chain, you just know design. And you're like, I don't care that they bought 10,000 screws. Yeah, but you're accountable because you spent way more than you should have. And so my challenge, you know, whenever I step into a new role is, you know, I'll always take a little bit to learn what's going on, learn what's happening, and then start figuring out what are the new areas, what are the things I don't know about. And I try to put the bulk of my attention on the stuff I don't know. The stuff I do know, I generally can, you know, kind of do spot checks, you know, kind of keep my finger on the pulse. I don't need to do a lot of in-depth checks and dive down to, in-depth detail on everything, because I have a pretty good sense, because I've done this in the past. What I need to pay more attention to are the new things. What is it that I don't know? And learn, ask questions, and, well, help me understand, why are we doing it this way? Why aren't we doing it that way? Or have we ever thought about doing it, a different way? And that is part of the learning process. And you also have to caveat that, because I've seen this happen before, where the boss will say, well, why aren't we doing it, why are we doing it here and not over here? Oh my gosh, the boss we now got to do, no. That's not what the boss wanted. The boss is just asking the question. But sometimes people have a tendency, because the boss asked a why or what about, they take that as guidance to go and do, and that's not always the case. So as that leader, as that manager, make sure that you couch your questions as a question, and don't be, oh, well, I think this is a better. Well, maybe it is, but, you want to make sure that you balance what you say and how you say, so that people don't go too far, and try to interpret and appease you when you're really just trying to learn and understand what's going on. Like I said, I've encountered that a lot of times over the years, and generally come out okay. Just taking a few minutes and understanding what's going on.
Okay, great. I wish I was watching this video 24 years ago, when I was great. I was a system engineer, and knowing the system in and out, and now I was made technical team leader very soon, and soon I was a project manager. And somebody who was very technical to becoming a project manager, I have no idea what I'm doing. So like, whenever there was a problem, guys, go away. I'm the one who knows the system, and jump in and start. My boss called me, hey, you're not an engineer anymore. You are a project manager. You need to learn. You need to get people to do that. You're not there. But they don't know. No, that's their job, to make them to let them take the responsibility.
Right. And I think that's true, for all managers and leaders, not just specific to project, program, portfolio managers. Are, a lot of people, and I've been guilty of this myself. One day I remember doing satellite operations, and we needed to get something done. And I reached over the person who was sitting there, started typing on the keyboard, because we got to save this. And afterwards, I was like, you are a complete nutch, Tom. You should not have done that. That was the absolute wrong thing to do. Your best thing would have been to take a step back and keep everybody else away, and let the guy on keyboard do his job. And that, it was a small thing, and I don't know that I made any difference whatsoever, and it didn't succeed because of me. But it was a lesson that I learned, 30 some years ago. Just sometimes the best thing to do as a leader is just step back.
Yeah. And this is for any role, from going from technical to project management to program management, program to portfolio senior manager. You have to leave with, so you have to unlearn few things and learn new things, because new role,
Right.
new different demands, different expectation.
Right. And, recently, current company I'm with, we had we're building a thing, and, we got a big customer demonstration coming up, and team, it's been, better part of 2 years working on the design, getting all the hardware done. And this is just a couple of months ago, the night before the demo, less than 12 hours. Team is last minute trying to get everything together. Parts broke. And now the demo's not going to work. So bright and early next morning, they're back in there, And, PM called me, the project manager called me that morning and said, hey, this broke, we got the customer demo. And I'm like, tell you what, I'll come on site. I wasn't going to, but I'll be there, kind of help smooth things over. And I get in there, and the project manager is like this, looking over the technician's shoulders at, well, they're doing this and they're doing that, and I kind of made a joke and I put my head on his shoulder and he's like, you don't want to do that, and I said, come on, project manager, let's go to the other side of the room. And my job became keeping people away from the people who were doing work.
Yeah, exactly.
And he kind of picked up on it, but he kind of didn't. But I was like, I didn't tell him that was what I was doing, but I'm like, here, let's go over here, let's talk through, I brought, New Mexico breakfast burritos are a thing, so I brought breakfast burritos for the team. I said, hey guys, get something to eat. Project manager, hey, let's go get one of these burritos and let's just talk. Let's leave these guys do their thing.
Okay.
And moved on.
Okay, Tom, I have one more question to ask.
Yeah.
Let me go through it. What does it mean when key performance indicator does not provide the expected information, the KPIs?
Right. So one of the things, in all of the project, program, portfolio management, we always talk about what are your key performance indicators? What are your objectives? How are you going to measure this? And in the book, none of them, they all work correctly. They always succeed. They always provide you perfect information. That happens, 50% of the time. Some might say 10%, some might say 80. You're not going to get them right. Key performance indicators, especially the first try, guarantee you they're not perfect. They're not going to be measuring the right thing. You're going to get weird results on something. If you came up with 10 KPIs, you're probably going to get half of them that give you meaningful information. The other half, you're getting weird results. They conflict with other things. They don't match with what you expected, or you think they should be showing, 10% improvement. And your gut tells you it should be a 10% improvement, that everything should be a 10% improvement. Because you're looking at the data and you're like, yeah, that looks like about 10%. But the KPI says you had 100% loss. And you're like, wait a minute. So this data does not compute. And so why does that happen? And there's lots of things, right? So one of them is it really is bad performance, right? Maybe you really did lose 100%. It happens. So you could be good in good data. Your KPI is just telling you results that you didn't expect and you don't want to see, but it's valid. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, are you measuring the right thing? If you're measuring, down, one of the reasons that we found infrared light, the scientist who did it many years ago, right? You got a prism, broke out white light into red, yellow, green, orange, and he put a thermometer off to the side, and the idea was he wanted to see do different color light give a different temperature. And so he had a thermometer in each of the colors, and as a control measure he had a thermometer off to the side of red. Well, that thermometer was hotter than everything else, and they found infrared. So he was measuring the right things, he just got unexpected results because this control measure was found by accident and everything. But that as a KPI, you got bad results. You didn't get what you expected.
Yep.
not necessarily a bad thing. It's just there's lots of contributing reasons. Are you measuring what you really think you want to measure, or are you trying to measure something that's not really quantitative? It's a qualitative, but you're trying to use a quantitative measure. Though that can happen, and sometimes you just don't know. It's the cause of what's happening is, buried 3, 4 levels deep, and you're just measuring the surface, and you can't see what's going on. So there's lots of different reasons for KPI to give other than expected results. But it doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean they're wrong. It doesn't mean you completely throw everything out. But it does mean, if you're not getting your expected results, why? Don't just automatically assume that, oh, well, this manager is doing something bad. Well, first question is, are you measuring the right thing?
Yeah.
And I've tried to do some data analysis over the years and had mixed results. One of my previous jobs, when I was on active duty, had to do with the Middle East, and one of the performance measures was insurance shipping rates in the Middle East. As a military member, and they thought, oh, this is a great measure. Yeah, it's a great measure, but you can't get it. That's proprietary information. Insurance companies are not going to share it.
Yeah.
And after a year of trying to use it, the people who were the experts came. It was time for the annual review. I said, okay, how are shipping rates doing? They're like, we can't measure that. I'm like, what do you mean? What about? No, you have a bad measure.
Yeah.
Great, it's a good measure, but it's a bad measure because it's not something we can get the data for.
Exactly.
We're going to measure other things.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, great. Great learning. Great learning. I'm sure everybody got a lot out of this. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. And thank you, everyone. And also, I like to remind, I have shared the PDU code on the chat. I will recommend everybody to take a screenshot, a copy paste, and this will give you one PDU. I don't want to see that coming back. I'm happy to see your email messages just for the PDU. No, you already have the PDU. So because you're in the session, you're watching the session, even the people watching the session later on as the recording, you have opportunity to get the PDU. You have to ask me in that case, hey, Dharam, I watched the video, this webinar, and this was the learning. I'd like to see what you're learning from that. And can I have the PDU code? Okay. So it's just not for, PDU codes are very hard to earn, and you have to earn them because you have been here for 1 hour listening to Tom and me.
Listening to me ramble.
Yeah, and you deserve at least one PDU. Anyway, so check your chat and, not only the PDU code, but you can also check what other things which I already shared. And if you don't have those, because you join later, you can also always say, Dharam, I did not see that. I will be happy to share the links with you and discount code, coupon code I have to share already, whatever it is. So I'm here to help. And Tom, this was your second webinar. You did equally good, and you did really well. And to take this question and giving the real example, walk us through, making it interesting, this was great. So
well, thank you. I enjoyed it.
But yeah, I'd like to thank you, all of you, to join again and again and keep learning. And thank you, Tom, for your insight and your, sharing the real examples. And while you're very, very busy, you take time out and, helping us to learn something new.
Okay. Happy to do it. And like I said, I've only succeeded because I've seen and watched others succeed, and they've taught me over the years, and I've learned from my own mistakes far too often.
Yeah, and sometimes we make mistake and learn, or sometimes other people's mistake and we learn.
The best way to learn is others' mistakes. So I've made plenty. So learn from me, don't learn from yourself.
Exactly. So I hope you got something out of this. Thank you guys, and you will see me again very soon with I don't know who's coming next, but in a couple of weeks' time you will see me again, and we're gonna have another exciting. Actually, this person now I remember now, Scott from Canada. He will be here, I think, in October, and this is going to be equally exciting session. Okay. So guys, thank you very much. And Tom, thank you. You take care. Um, yeah, thank you, Randy. Thank you, Satish, for your contribution and keep asking questions. So with this, I'll let you go and I will see you
All right.
again. Bye.
Thank you all. Enjoyed it.